Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the corporate world one filing at a time. Today we're diving into Kura Oncology's proxy statement. Get ready for some boardroom drama, because this report has more than just voting details. This isn't your average please vote for our board document. Sure, it covers the basics like electing directors and picking an accounting firm, but it also holds clues about where this cancer-fighting company is headed and how they're paying their top executives. Think of it as a peek behind the curtain, revealing Kura's strategy, risks, and even a little executive compensation gossip. First things first. The reason for this filing, Kura Oncology's annual meeting in June of 2025. Stockholders get to vote on a few key things, including who sits on the board, giving an opinion on executive pay, and approving changes to their stock plan. It's like a corporate election. 3 directors are up for re-election. It's important because the people elected will have some responsibilities until 2028. We've got Helen Collins with tons of experience in drug development, Thomas Malley, a financial whiz from Moss Rock Capital, and Carol Schaefer, a finance expert with experience at Wells Fargo. Basically, they want these people back on the board. The board is mostly independent, meaning they don't have close ties with the company's management. Only Dr. Wilson, the CEO, isn't considered independent. This is important for good corporate governance, making sure the board is looking out for the shareholders and not just for the CEO. They also have a lead independent director, which is like a second in command to keep things in check. During 2024, the board of directors held 11 meetings and acted by unanimous written consent, without a meeting 7 times during 2024. It's good to see the board is actively involved and not just rubber stamping decisions. Time to talk numbers. How much did Kura pay their accounting firm, Ernst & Young? In 2024, it was about $1.6 million. That's just for the audit, making sure the books are in order. Now, a vote to approve the compensation for the top executives is up. This is a non-binding say-on-pay vote, meaning the company doesn't have to follow the result, but it's a good way to see what the shareholders think. This is about Kura's stock plan, and they want to increase the number of available shares. This is important to understand what their plans are for rewarding employees. They want to add 4.75 million shares to the plan, which is an increase. They say this helps them attract and keep key people, which is super important for a growing biotech company. This request is because they are getting close to releasing their first commercial product for the treatment of relapsed and hard to treat AML, and they're also developing ziftomenib. They need great and talented employees for that. They also give a few numbers related to the stock plan, but their dilution is at 22.7%, which is how much the current investors' share of the company is worth. They say they want to be careful when giving equity to employees, so that value is not reduced too much. The burn rate is at 4.9%, which is lower than previous years. The burn rate tells us how quickly the company is handing out stock to employees. Let's check out the people in charge. There's Troy Wilson, the CEO, Kathleen Ford, the Chief Operating Officer, and Teresa Baer, the Chief Legal Officer. In 2025, they also added Francis Burrows as Chief Scientific Officer and Molly Leone as Chief Medical Officer. Having the right leadership is critical for a company like Kura. This is where things get interesting. This section gives an overview of the company's performance and how that relates to executive pay. A few highlights for 2024, such as submitting a new drug application or NDA to the FDA for ziftomenib for the treatment of adult patients with relapsed or refractory AML with an NPM1 mutation, having the FDA grant them breakthrough therapy designation for ziftomenib, and they entered into a collaboration with Kyowa Kirin for the use of ziftomenib and having money to continue operations and funding from some investors. The company's independent consultant did a few things. It helped them pick companies to compare themselves to in the same line of work and looked over the executive pay to see if they match current trends. Base salaries are pretty standard, but let's see if they're getting raises. Dr. Wilson got a 4% increase, which brought him to $671,736. These salaries reflect their importance and try to keep them competitive in the job market. The executives can also earn a bonus based on performance. Dr. Wilson's target bonus is 60% of his base salary, while the others are at 40%. These bonuses are tied to company goals and individual performance. It's an at-risk pay, meaning they only get it if they perform well, like the actual bonus paid out to our CEO based on performance was $538,061. Otoini was $29 on the company doing well. Stock options. To provide incentives for employees so they can own a piece of the company. It is also used for retention purposes. Trefner 2024, the goal is to make the leaders act like owners. If the business does great, so does their own personal wealth. The company promises large payouts if They are fired with no cause or resign for good reasons. Dr. Wilson gets 1,060, 166, and those benefits make sure they are aligned with investors to sell to someone. It's a golden parachute to soften the blow if they lose their jobs. The document also dives into pay versus performance. It's required by the SEC and shows how executive compensation stacks up against company metrics like total shareholder return. For 2020, 22,100 in 2022 forfo, tøftetodi 2022 4077. And the average for the rest three named executive officers was 1,060, 1,070, 1,075. It states their assumption for the option calculations such as terms, volatility, etc. They can range from a year to 8 years. Cabinet pay the CEO to take more risk and they don't want to play it safe. And most importantly, no hedging or pledging in company securities. It gives peace of mind that nobody is planning anything behind everyone's backs. Last but not least, the company had to sell shares to existing investors to raise money for future development of ziftomenib. The equity compensation of a company means that there is a lot of control given to the people that are working at the company. The people believe in it and are incentivized to go to the finish line with a real drug that changes the lives of the patient, not just an idea. Now, let's look at the big picture. Kura Oncology is betting big on precision medicine. While they're still losing money, they're making progress in clinical trials and are gearing up for a potential drug launch. The risks? Drug development is always risky and competition in the cancer space is fierce. Plus, they'll need to manage their cash carefully to fund operations. Overall, Kura Oncology appears to be moving in a promising direction. But ultimately, their success hinges on getting their drugs approved and successfully selling them. The management is there, the tech might be there, only time can tell. That's it for this corporate decoder. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of corporate filings. Until next time,